But when people are starting in a new career like data analytics or it could be data science, we've obviously talked about SQL as being an important skill. Do you think that that's the first skill that people should be learning or amongst the first skills? I guess kind of broadening from just SQL, you know, what are the other things that people should be learning first? What should people be prioritizing? And yeah, is SQL like the first thing or one of the first things amongst that set?
So, if you're like brand new to data, like you truly don't have any foundation at all, I would say definitely start with like a little bit of data visualization, maybe play around in Power BI or Tableau or even Excel and just understand some very basics. So, like columns and rows, different data types, how you can visualize data differently, maybe like bar charts, line graphs, a little bit of basic statistics like max, min, average, things like that. So if you're like brand new, I definitely start there. But I actually tell people they should really start in SQL as long as you have a little bit of a data foundation, because I think SQL just broadens your data experience so well. You start to learn how data sets merge together. You get to learn a lot about data cleaning and how to reshape and transform data. So I think once you learn those skills, you can easily pick up anything else. So if you already know how to do it well in SQL, you can go into Power BI or Tableau or whatever BI tool you want to use and apply those same concepts and transfer that knowledge over. So I do think SQL is probably one of the best investments because that's a skill that all companies are going to use, like regardless of where you work. And then it also gives you good knowledge that you can transfer over to whichever BI tool your company's working in. And then also, Python or R later down the road too.
Nice. So a lot of people, when they're starting in their careers, they would be thinking about educational programs that they could follow. So, you just gave a great list there of the kinds of skills that people would want to be learning. But a lot of people, they want to learn amongst other people or alongside other people, kind of, having a teacher giving them guidance and mentorship, as we talked about earlier in this episode, the importance of mentorship. So there are lots of online courses and boot camps out there on data analytics, business analytics, data science. You yourself have gone along what I guess we could call kind of the more traditional route of getting an undergraduate degree in math and then a graduate degree in business analytics. So, what do you think about those two different kinds of paths of I guess there's three. There's three to consider because the there's what you were just talking about in your last answer. It actually is something that somebody could do completely unstructured, where you're just, you're chatting with something like ChatGPT even, just kind of your own self-guided path of education. One step more formal could be doing a boot camp or on a collection of online courses that you curate for yourself. And then the most formal would be to get degrees, to go to a university and get a formal education, formal diploma showing that you have, say, an analytics skill set or a machine learning or data science skill set. So what do you think about those various routes? And what would you recommend to different types of listeners?
Yeah, so I think that choice really does come down to the individual, as cheesy as that sounds. But I think everyone has different goals, everyone has different financial means and different time restrictions. If someone has a full time job, they might not have as much flexibility with certain options. But I would say that I'm glad I went to grad school. For me, it was a personal goal to go to grad school. I actually dreamed of that as a kid. Like, I was like, I'm going to get a PhD or a master's degree when I grow up. So for me, it was very much like an educational goal that I had. And it was obviously a very structured way of learning data analytics. And by the time I graduated, I had all the skills I needed to go and apply for jobs, plus the added credibility of having an extra degree. So I think that was a huge plus. But I know realistically, financially, not everybody is going to be able to go to grad school. And a lot of people aren't going to be able to pause their life for a year or two and do a full time grad program. So by no means am I saying that everybody should go to grad school. I think when it comes down to learning on your own, I think the two kind of routes are a structured way, like a boot camp, or there's kind of like your self-learning path where you can pick your own courses and stuff. I think if you have the discipline and the motivation, absolutely like curate your own learning path, like learn all the right skills, take like a few courses, maybe spend like a few $100 on a few different courses that you know are going to be really good and set you up. And that is totally enough to get a job in data. But it, of course, takes a lot of discipline, a lot of time. You have to build projects on your own and really practice and get those skills up to here so you can pass your interviews because you're not going to have the same credibility as putting a master's on your resume. But you're going to save a lot of money and probably a lot of time too. I think the boot camp path, it depends on the boot camp. I do not like seeing some boot camps charging $10,000, $20,000. I mean, my grad program was $20,000. So I'm like, if you're going to spend 10 or 20,000 or take out loans, you might as well just get a master's because if you're going to make that kind of financial investment, you should at least get a diploma for your wall and put some letters on your resume, you know? So I'm not a huge fan of predatory boot camps that are very expensive for what they offer. But I do also think that there are very good boot camps out there. So shout out to Zach Wilson, his data engineering boot camp. Like he's obviously very credible. His prices are very affordable. Like that's something that I would buy into versus one of these big corporations that's kind of preying on newbies.
That is great guidance. Some more real talk from you in this episode. I appreciate your openness and, yeah, telling it like you see it. Like earlier in the episode, going into specific numbers on your salary. Now talking about these specific numbers and value that you get, on boot camps. And I totally agree with you. There are definitely predatory kind of prices out there, where yeah, you could be getting a lot better value on either of the paths that you described, getting that graduate degree for the $10,000 or $20,000, or curating your own path. And as you said, that requires some more motivation. Although it just occurred to me off the top of my head that potentially a way that you could very inexpensively, if you can somehow find even just a handful of other people that are also interested in developing a career in data analytics, data science, machine learning. They could be people that you met online. You could literally post about it on LinkedIn and say, "Hey,
Totally.
I'm thinking about going into a career in data analytics. I come from this background. Here's some of the resources I was thinking of maybe learning, or let's together come up with a course plan and hold each other accountable." You could, like you said, for hundreds of dollars, you could develop all the same kinds of skills in a $10,000 or $20,000 boot camp, or even a $10,000 or $20,000 master's potentially. And that independence, showing that independence, you're going to be developing a lot of skills there yourself that are either employable skills, showing that you're able to to organize a group, or independently as an individual be able to curate the right resources to succeed. I mean, that is a highly employable skill, but simultaneously, those are the same kinds of skills that allow you to be a great entrepreneur and to be making money on your own. So,
Totally.
uh, I don't know. So, a number of different ideas there for people to sink their teeth into.
Yeah, I hope
Um,
I didn't talk too badly about boot camps.
no, I mean, and there is probably also, while I would think carefully about it, there probably also are scenarios where you think, okay, you know what? I have this career break right now. I've got 3 months or 6 months because I'm on gardening leave from, I was working at a big bank, and they've given me gardening leave for 6 months. Um, Money's not a problem for this person because they've just like left an investment bank or whatever.
Right.
They left a software developer job at an investment bank, and they're like, I want to be a data scientist. I want to get into machine learning. And, you don't want to take that year or 2 years to get a master's, especially if, you'd be pursuing it part-time. So you think, okay, well, this boot camp, even though it's a bit more expensive, I can get immersed in this right away. And often with that kind of price, they do put a lot of effort into partnerships with industry, which is something
Mhm.
that you that
True.
that's kind of a big part of, I think, what you're buying with that price tag.
Yeah, I agree. I think the right boot camp can be really good for somebody, especially because some people do want that structure. They want to be told exactly what to learn, how to learn it, and when to learn it. So I think that's great along with the industry connections. But I think once you get into like the $10,000, $20,000 range, that's when I'm a little like, is it really that much value? I don't know, but
Yeah.
that's just my take. I wouldn't spend that much unless it were for a master's.